80 mounted samurai ride through the mountains, hooves pounding against the earth, banners fluttering in the cold dawn air. Ahead lies the coastline, and beyond it the horizon darkened with sails. The Mongol invasion fleet advances, a sea of ships unlike anything Japan has ever seen. The warriors steel themselves. Outnumbered, outgunned, facing an enemy that had already conquered most of the known world. This is the story of Japan's fight for survival against the Mongol Empire. To understand the terror that now approaches Japan, we must go back 6 years earlier, to 1268. Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, sat on the throne of the largest empire Earth had ever seen. The Mongols had conquered Persia, Russia, Central Asia, and most of China. They were feared from Europe to the Pacific. And now, Kublai Khan's attention turned east, to Japan. He sent a letter to the Kamakura shogunate, the military government ruling Japan. Innumerable peoples in far-off lands have learned to fear our power, and they long for our virtuous rule. The sages teach that the world is one family. If we fail to build friendship, how could this be in harmony with that truth? Who would dare appeal to arms? It was written in the language of peace, but it was in fact an ultimatum: submit or be destroyed. The Japanese ignored him. But ignoring the Mongols was not like ignoring any other kingdom. These were the horsemen who had reduced the richest cities of the Islamic world to ash, who had toppled the mighty Kievan Rus, who had crushed the Song dynasty in China. Entire civilizations were burned, their people slaughtered by the millions. Japan's silence was bold, but it was also dangerous. At this time, Japan was not a centralized empire like China. Power was divided between the imperial court in Kyoto and the shogunate in Kamakura. Real authority rested with the shogun and his regents, the Hojo clan. The samurai were Japan's military backbone, warriors bound by loyalty and the pursuit of honor. Unlike the image of later centuries, samurai of the 13th century were still horse archers first, swordsmen second. Their code was not yet called Bushido, but already their lives revolved around loyalty, honor, and glory in battle. Rewards came not from regular pay, but from deeds recognized by the government. To be remembered, a samurai had to be witnessed in battle, his acts recorded, or enemy heads taken as proof. It was a warrior culture unlike that of the Mongols, but no less fierce. The Mongol fleet first appeared in 1274. Their target, Tsushima Island. Sukekuni, the island's governor, rallied his men. At dawn, they faced the enemy on the beach. The samurai unleashed arrows from horseback, felling Mongol warriors one by one. For a brief moment, it seemed their skill could hold the invaders back. But then came the full weight of Mongol tactics. The Mongols did not fight as individuals, but as disciplined units. Their arrows came in volleys, raining down like a storm. Their cavalry charged in waves, smashing through weak points. Their infantry carried shields, axes, and maces, weapons designed to break armor. And they had something new: gunpowder bombs. Explosions shattered the battlefield, terrifying horses and men alike. By midday, Sukekuni and his men were dead. Tsushima's villages were burned, its people slaughtered. The Mongols moved on to Iki Island. The story was the same. Brave resistance, followed by massacre. As the Mongols pressed toward Kyushu, they employed terror as a weapon. From their ships hung the bodies of women taken from the islands, pierced through the palms with ropes. A horrifying message to those who watched from the shore: submit or suffer. The Mongol drums thundered, gongs clashed, arrows darkened the skies. The Japanese met them with desperate courage. Takazaki Suinaga, a young samurai, sought to make his name. Ignoring warnings, he charged a Mongol camp with only a handful of men. Arrows struck his horse and body, but he pressed on. Only reinforcements saved him from death. The Japanese fought valiantly, but the Mongols were too strong, and yet they suddenly withdrew. Some say storms battered their fleet. Others claim they simply lacked the numbers to hold Japan. Whatever the reason, the Mongols departed. Japan had survived the first invasion, but Kublai Khan was not done. The Japanese knew the Mongols would return. Hojo Tokimuni, the regent of the shogunate, prepared for war. Along the coast of Kyushu, he ordered the construction of 12 miles of stone walls, designed to prevent landings. Samurai drilled relentlessly. Shrines were commanded to pray for protection. When Mongol emissaries came again, demanding submission, Tokimuni gave a bold reply. He had them executed. This was no longer a question of diplomacy. It was a fight to the death. In 1281, the Mongols returned. This time, their fleet was vast. From Korea came one armada. From southern China came another, even larger, with ships built from the resources of the conquered Song dynasty. Together, they numbered over 4,000 vessels, the largest invasion fleet the world had yet seen. Once again, Tsushima was crushed. Once again, Iki was slaughtered. Survivors fled to the mountains, hunted down by the Mongols. But when the enemy reached Kyushu, they found the new coastal walls blocking their advance. Unable to land, the Mongols anchored in the bay. The Japanese struck back. Samurai rowed out in small boats at night, boarding Mongol ships in daring raids. Kawano Michiari led one such attack. With only 5 men, he boarded a Mongol vessel, arrows tearing into his body as he fought. Wounded but unyielding, he cut down enemies and captured an officer, Takazaki Suinaga, 2 boarded ships, proving his valor once more. But the Mongols were not finished. The southern fleet arrived, swelling their numbers threefold. At Takashima, the Japanese were forced to retreat. Victory for the invaders seemed inevitable. And then, it happened. The skies darkened, winds roared, waves rose like mountains. A typhoon struck. The Mongol fleet, crammed together in the bay, had nowhere to run. Ships smashed against each other. Masts snapped. Soldiers were thrown into the raging sea. By dawn, thousands of bodies floated in the water. Survivors washed ashore, where Japanese forces executed them without mercy. Only those from southern China, viewed as old allies forced into Mongol service, were spared, enslaved instead. The rest were killed. The invasion had been annihilated. Not by men, but by the storm, the Japanese called Kamikaze, the divine wind. Kublai Khan, who had claimed the entire universe as his domain, had failed to conquer Japan, not once, but twice. For Japan, the victory was more than military, it was spiritual. The storms were seen as proof that the gods themselves protected the nation. The myth of divine protection became a cornerstone of Japanese identity for centuries. Takazaki Suinaga's exploits were immortalized in illustrated scrolls, showing samurai valor for generations to come. Kawano Michiari was honored as a hero, but victory came at a cost. The wars strained Japan's resources. Samurai demanded rewards, yet there was no new land to distribute. Political tensions simmered. The Mongol invasions had been repelled, but they left scars that would shape Japan's history. For the Mongols, the defeat was humbling. They had conquered the greatest empires of the age, yet the islands of Japan had resisted them. And with that, the great dream of Kublai Khan to bring Japan under his rule was shattered forever. The Mongols had claimed the world, but Japan stood defiant. Twice the empire of the horsemen came, and twice it was driven back. By the courage of the samurai and by the winds of the gods. This is why the Mongol invasions of Japan remain one of history's greatest turning points. So, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and consider supporting us on Patreon for more epic tales of history.